Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Save the Good Girl podcast. I am your host, Erica, and today we are doing season 2 SOE. SOE stands for Shot of Erica. You know, when you go to the bar and you get like shots of tequila, or you get coffee, you get a shot of espresso, or a shot of ginger, a shot of green juice, whatever the case is. The whole point of the shot is to give you a nice pick me up, and this is exactly what the SOE episodes are. It's a nice, quick pick me up. It gets you exactly where you need to be, but really for the mind. So it's really from my mind to yours, thought provoking topics that we get to discuss in a very short time. Due to the fact that I did come out with my new episodes this past Monday, this is why it's going to be released today on Thursday. But moving forward, SOEs will be every Tuesday, and my full episodes will be every Friday. So for this SOE, I wanted to focus and kind of keep in the topic of grief, only because I did start the series, and this is such a large topic. Like, there's so many things that I'm learning and so many things that I'm experiencing that I haven't really heard people discuss, and that's why I wanted to take the time to do it, because I have the platform and I want to use it in a way that's really helpful and insightful. One of the things that I did want to discuss during this episode is grief etiquette. I think that going through loss is such a deep pain. And for those who are friends of the person who is going through bereavement, or family members or coworkers, it's just hard. You don't know what to say, you don't know what to do. And I think for me, I wasn't really mad at anybody, because I understood that this was also very new for me. I've experienced grief before, but not to this magnitude. And I wanted to kind of go over some things that you can maybe adjust within how you communicate with somebody who is grieving, some things that could help. Again, I'm not a therapist or a psychiatrist or a doctor. I just like to pay attention and hopefully provide some insight to help the process further along a little bit better. The first thing I wanted to acknowledge is you need to acknowledge the loss. You need to acknowledge the loss. You cannot ignore it. And you want to make sure that when you're talking to this person that you are present and you are available, meaning this is not the time for you to be running in the streets, on social media, music in the background, TV in the background. You cannot have anything fighting for your attention. If you're not available to really provide time for this person, then don't do it. Wait until you're in a quiet space, only because vulnerability is so tricky with grief. Sometimes you don't want to talk, and sometimes you are an open book. And if you're going to be that person to that this person confides in and they actually want to talk to them, the last thing you want to do is have a really awkward environment. So I would suggest to be present, be available, and just kind of gauge, right? It's going to require you to be very mindful and paying attention. Like, you want to make sure that you have your eyes and your ears on this person, because that's what's going to help you gauge on how to move next. Like, do they want to talk? Do they want me to talk? So in this moment, you really, really need to pay attention. The next thing I want to discuss is visitations. Please do not just drop by. In the initial stages of it, it's helpful, because when you're going through it, you just don't know what's going on. So people just want to be there, which is fine. But I think that as the process of planning comes along and as the time starts to progress, you really do want to call before visiting. Popping up is not ideal. I understand the need to want to support. You want to be there, you want to be present, and I get it. But please check in to see where the person is. Maybe they're showering. You know what I mean? Like, you just don't know. The house could be a mess. Like, when you're going through that, you're not thinking about anything. You're just such in shock. So just be mindful of that. Another thing to be mindful of, how to be when you hear the news. So the most important thing is to be a great listener. You'll be surprised of whether people want to talk or not. I actually wanted to talk. Some people, they do not want to talk. So this is where you have to be a great listener, patient, mindful, and understanding and allow and create a safe space for this person. Something you don't want to bring up is other people's experiences. Let the person focus on their loss. Unless you shared the same loss, and even if so, you still want to make it about them, because the way that they experience loss will be completely different from how you experience loss. And something that I really didn't like was this comparing, like, oh, well, I lost someone too, and I had to do this. And it's like, that's you, that's not me. So just be mindful of that. Another thing I want to discuss is social media. Please respect the family and do not post the deceased person. Do not post pictures. Like, be respectful. Give it some time. That could be very triggering. I know that some people, when they're grieving, they go to social media in like a day or two. I don't know how, but they do. I know for me, I wasn't on social media for almost 2 years. I just couldn't, like, posting, and I couldn't. Like, I needed physical support. Like, I needed my friends and my family. And if you were close to me and you knew me, then you knew what was going on. And whoever didn't know, then you didn't have to know. So social media was not important to me. But I would just say, just be mindful of the person. Even if the person is a social media person, it doesn't mean that they want to have their business out there. So just be mindful of that. Something that's extremely inappropriate, oh my God, it's so inappropriate. It's so inappropriate. Is to imply that the death was for the best. I don't want to curse too much. I cannot tell you how upsetting this made me feel. And I was torn because I knew the person was trying to be comforting, but it was horrible. It's also inappropriate to ask and probe for details of the death and the person's final moments. That is not your business. Unless the person wants to share that with you, that is not something that you should ask. Again, gauge, let the individual decide what they want to share or not. Even now, if I find out somebody passes away, I'm not asking you what happened. Like, I will wait to see if that's something that you would like to share with me. Something that you want to avoid saying is, it's probably a blessing. No, I know how you feel. You don't. He's at peace now. I hated that because my father fought. He fought. So to hear he's at peace now was not peaceful to me. God can't give you more than you can handle. All the cliche things. Stay busy to take your mind off of things. That doesn't work. Be strong for your family. These things are very cliche. They do not work. They are not from the heart. These are not heartfelt things. These are things people just say because they don't know what to say. But I'm telling you, these are not good things to say, because you telling me that this is for the best, you telling me that to stay busy to keep my mind off of it, all that really is saying to me is that I have to avoid. That's not something you want to share initially. Not initially, right? Because I'm seriously suffering and you're telling me, well, this is for the best. No, it's not, right? No, it's not. Another thing I want to talk about is timing. There are certain things that you cannot say initially, but it doesn't mean you can't say it later on as the individual is progressing towards their grief, right? So timing is everything. Timing. When it first hits, you got to be sensitive, you got to be mindful, and you have to be patient. Another thing you want to do is providing help. So the thing that's hard is, let me know what I can do for you. That doesn't help, because in that moment, you don't even know what to ask for. You don't even know what you need. You don't know anything. You don't know. So I would suggest that you offer something specific, right? Meaning coming to clean the house, or maybe offering a cleaning service, cooking meals, or bringing food, because food was something that my family and we just weren't thinking about it. So I'm just so grateful for my family and friends who just was like, here's dinner. Like, you don't understand how much that has helped me. So thank you. Bringing toiletries to the home, and for the body, like body wash, detergent, deodorant. One of my friends bought me vitamins. Who's thinking about that? Not me. Not during this time. So all of that really helped. Offer to drive this person somewhere, whether it's church, appointment, or going to the park. Offer them coffee or tea or lunch or dinner, or just to come by and hug them, or relaxing, something specific that really helps out. Or going to the spa, or just a phone call, because saying, hey, is there anything that you need? Maybe, I don't know. Not right now, like I can't. So it's actually really helpful if you are specific, because it makes the mind less clouded. Like, I felt like during that time I couldn't think. I could not think. So if you could do the thinking for me, it was great. A lot of my family members, they just brought food. They just did things, and I'm like, oh, thank you. I didn't know I needed that. Thank you. I didn't know I needed that. So it was deeply appreciative. So I would say be very specific when you're providing help. Also, as the person is going through this grief attacks can happen at any moment. So just be mindful that you might see somebody progressing and doing well, and out of nowhere they're very sad, because it happens out of nowhere. A song might come on, or they might drive by something that reminded them of that person. It's very difficult. So I say that when this person finds someone that they can feel safe with, they are able to be vulnerable, and it's okay. And for me, I was very grateful that God provided me people in my life that I could be very vulnerable with, because I needed that. Grief actually made me more vulnerable than I was before. And because I'm more vulnerable, I'm very protective of who I speak to, because I'm telling you, one of my pet peeves, one of the things that I hate the most, is for me to be vulnerable and the other person's like busy, or they don't seem interested, or they're just kind of like ignoring me. It's just not a nice feeling. I don't know if you guys could hear that airplane. Oh my gosh. It's just not a nice feeling. And I really do not like that. I really do not like that. And truthfully speaking, if somebody does that to me, I find that when I was younger, I used to be like very upset and like cut them off. Oh my God, how could you? Now I just kind of like pay attention, and I know what to share and what not to share. So it's like, moving forward, instead of me being upset about it, I just won't share that with you, because you are not creating a safe space for me and my emotions. And it's too much for me to like think about. So I'm just going to surround myself with people who do provide that, and consistent, right? Which leads me to my next point, following up. Keep in touch. Send your text messages. Send flowers. Write a card. Something heartfelt. Let me tell you something. I do not forget. I could forget many things in my life. But one thing I never forgot are all the people that sent me messages, flowers, cards, voice notes, any form of communication. Even if I didn't speak to this person in years, I promise you, I never, ever forgot your communication efforts during that time. So I would say sending messages, I'm thinking of you, and all of that is important. Also, remembering certain important dates like their birthdays, that's important. Depending on the person, Father's Day, Mother's Day, any important date that that was really big to the person who is going through bereavement, that is important. Father's Day recently passed, and I got a couple of messages that said, thinking of you, sending you love. And it made me happy, because I'm just like, wow, Daddy, you're still being celebrated. Like, people still remember you. Because in my original episode, I stated that for every person that dies, there are 5 people who are deeply grieving that person. So for people to reach out to me on Father's Day, knowing that I was very close to my father, to say, I'm thinking of you, and I hope you're doing well, and I'm sending love and hugs, and how are you today? It meant the world to me. It meant the world to me. Like, it really did. I have to drink some water. It really did mean the world to me. And I don't forget things like that. And the person who's going through some deep grieving, they won't forget it either. They will not forget it either. Another thing I want to discuss is acknowledge the growth of the bereaved, no matter how small the accomplishments are. When you are grieving, you you lose structure, you sometimes can lose yourself. You don't even know that you're going through depression. You don't know. This is an unfamiliar situation for you. And you just know that you're changing, and it's just not a good change, right? So acknowledge the person's growth. I don't care if it's like, I love your hair. I love your nails. Oh my God, you did your nails. That's great. You want to come out? Oh, great. Like, everything needs to be acknowledged, and it needs to be like applauded, and it needs to be celebrated. Because I remember reading an article, and there was a woman that said that she didn't leave the house for 7 years after losing a parent. And I was like, wow, that is a long time. And I still believe, and I know that God wants me to live life. And so does my dad. He wants me to live life. And how can I do that? I have to participate in my healing. And how can I do that? With the people in my life. I was encouraged. People prayed for me. They were there for me. And I wouldn't be able to do this podcast without that support, right? So following up, acknowledging their growth, acknowledging what they need, being there, being present is huge. It's huge. It's huge. It's huge. Another thing that I want to share, and the last thing that I want to share, is for you to share stories. Sharing stories. I love hearing stories about my dad. There's so many I don't know, and I think that for many people, they don't know, like, can I bring this up or can I not bring this up? Should I say something? So again, you're going to have to really pay attention. Like, attention to detail is huge when you are supporting someone who is grieving. Pay attention, because for a lot of people, they didn't want to talk. For me, I loved hearing about my dad. I loved hearing about him. I loved hearing about these stories that, I never knew. I love that. Of course, in the moment, it made me sad and I cried a little bit or teared up. But I love to hear stories about my father and just the things that he's done for people and all these wonderful things that I never knew. I'm like, oh my God, I didn't know that. So allowing to have a shared space in order for the person to share their story is really great. It's really great. So I really hope that you guys found value in this episode. Grief etiquette is something that I thought about while I was going through grief, because I felt like people would say things and do things, and I'm like, I know it's not their fault. So I wasn't mad, but it was more so like, wow, people really do not know. And when I come back, I am going to really highlight and maybe provide some insight and help somebody else, because this is just not an easy process. But I'll tell you one thing, support will never go out of style. Support will never be forgotten. Support will never go to the side. Support is the reason why I'm even on this microphone right now. So continue to support. Continue to send text messages. Continue to follow up. Continue to be present. Your presence is the biggest source of having the person who is going through bereavement get some sense of, not normalcy, but like reminder of love. A reminder of love. Because when you lose someone, you feel like you lose everything. But you are the reason why the person can remember, oh, there's more to life. There's other people that love and care about me. So I really hope that, and if you are the person that is grieving, I hope that this also provided some comfort to you as well. Maybe you can help explain how to get support from others. And for those who are being that support, maybe this has helped you as well. And if it did, please communicate with me. Contact me on SAVETHEGOODGIRL.com. Communicate with me on social media. I would love to hear your thoughts. Thank you so much for joining me for the season 2 of the S.O.E episodes. I wasn't going to do it, but I received so much feedback about it. So I'm like, you know what? Let's do this. Let's do this again. And provide some insight. So I hope you enjoyed me during your break. Have a wonderful week, and I will see you next week for part 2 of the grief series and also a new episode of SOE. Have a wonderful week.